The first thing I saw was the sign, "No closed doors." It hung right inside the entryway on a little rope, swinging a bit in the draft from the open front door. The letters were painted in neat black lines, bold and simple, like the rule was older than the house itself. The second thing I saw was her. Elena Rossetti stood in the doorway with one hand on the knob and the other braced on the frame, blocking most of the opening on purpose. Warm light from inside the house fell across the porch and turned the rain on my jacket into tiny gold drops. She did not move to let me in. She just stood there and measured me. "You're late," she said. Her eyes dropped to my duffel bag, then came back to my face. Dark hair in smooth waves over one shoulder, white tank top, high-waisted dark skirt, bare feet on old wooden boards. She did not look like a landlord. She looked like someone who had learned a long time ago that if she did not set the rules, no one would. "Most people turn around when they see the rules, Mr. Vance," she added. "I expected you to be halfway down the street by now." Quote, I shifted my bag on my sore shoulder. 3 blocks before this, I had watched my car finally give up at a red light, then listened to the engine cough itself into silence. I had pushed it to the curb, locked it, and walked the rest of the way in the rain because my bank balance could not handle a tow truck and a hotel on the same night. Running was not an option. Not from this porch, not from this house, not from this rent. "I'm not running," I said. "Also, my car is dead, so I don't have far to go." My voice came out calm. It did not show how tight my chest felt. I was 26. I was supposed to be in the fast lane by now, throwing baseballs for a living. Instead, I was standing on a stranger's porch with everything I owned in one bag, trying not to sound desperate. Her mouth curved a little, not soft, not mean. Just a small, sharp smile that said she saw more than I wanted to show. "The rent is non-negotiable," she said. "Quiet hours are strict. And the door rule is the deal breaker. If you value privacy more than a roof, there's a motel a mile east of campus. If you value a roof more than privacy, you live here with open doors." I glanced past her into the house. I could see the edge of a wide staircase, dark walls, glints of colored glass. It smelled like lemon oil and old wood. It smelled like someone cared about this place so much it hurt. I also saw the sign again. "No closed doors." "I don't have anything to hide," I said. That was a lie, of course. I had a blown-out shoulder, a dead dream, and a bank account that looked like a bad joke. I also had the kind of pride that did not like anyone knowing how close I was to sleeping in my car. "We'll see," she said. She stepped back just enough for me to cross the threshold. As I did, she added, almost casual, "Welcome to the aviary. And for the record, you won't last a week under my rules." The house wrapped around me at once. Dark wood floors, tall ceilings, stained glass panels that threw bits of green and red on the walls. Somewhere, way down the hall, a heater kicked on with a low hum. The air felt old and steady, like the house had been here long before the university grew up around it. I dropped my duffel near the stairs and tried not to stare too hard. "Why is it called the aviary?" I asked. "Because it used to be full of people who thought they could fly," she said. "Artists, musicians, grad students with big ideas and no money. It was my grandparents' house. Now it's mine." "You live here alone?" I asked. She gave me a look. If I lived here alone, I would not be renting to strangers. Point taken. I followed her down the hallway. Every door we passed was open, a parlor with big windows, a dining room with built-in shelves, a small office with a desk covered in folders. Even the kitchen door was open wide, the light on, a coffee mug sitting beside the sink. "No closed doors," I said under my breath. "Say it out loud," she replied without looking back. I frowned. "Seriously?" "Yes," she said. "If you are going to live under a rule, you should be able to say it out loud." I cleared my throat. "No closed doors." Quote. She nodded, satisfied, like I had just signed a contract. She showed me my room on the second floor. The door was propped open with a stack of old textbooks. The bed was neatly made. There was a desk against the wall, a dresser, and a small window that looked out over the side yard. "The bathroom is across the hall," she said. "Leave the door open when you're not using it. Same for this one." "What if I need quiet to study?" I asked. "Headphones," she said, "or the library." What happens in this house happens in the open. That sounds like surveillance, I said. That sounds like safety, she replied. Her voice stayed flat, but something in her eyes shifted when she said that word. Safety, like it was not a theory to her, like it was personal. I wanted to ask more, but her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket, glanced at the screen, and her jaw clenched. "That's the dean," she muttered. "Of the program?" I asked. "Of the university," she said. "He likes to think he owns half this street." She turned away and walked down the hall toward the stairs. "Unpack, Mr. Vance. Kitchen is free. Coffee is communal. Quiet hours start at 11. And keep your door open." I stood there alone in my new room, listening. I could hear her voice drift up from downstairs, sharp and quick on the phone. I could hear a cabinet close, the front door creak, the house settle. The sign downstairs swung on its little rope, tapping the wall like a slow heartbeat. No closed doors. I set my bag on the bed and rubbed my shoulder. The old ache from too many pitches and one bad day burned under the skin. Physical therapy school had been my second chance after baseball died. I was not going to lose it because of some strange house rule. "You won't last a week," she had said. I looked at the doorway, at the textbooks holding it open, at the shadow of the hall stretching across my floor. The rule felt strange and tight, like a shirt one size too small. Still, I picked up the textbooks, moved them, and left the door open on purpose. I lasted the first night. The trouble started the next morning. I woke up early, walked downstairs to the kitchen in bare feet, and found Elena already there, standing at the island with a tablet in her hand. She wore dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, hair up in a loose knot. Her face was set in hard focus as she scrolled through rows of numbers. "Morning," I said. She gave a short nod, but her eyes did not leave the screen. I turned toward the coffee maker. Before I could reach it, the front door slammed open. "Lena, you can't ignore my emails forever." A man's voice called out. I stiffened. A tall man in an expensive suit walked straight into the kitchen like he owned the place. His hair was perfect. His tie was perfect. His smile was sharp enough to cut. "Good morning, Dean Sterling," Elena said without looking up. "To what do I owe the pleasure of you walking into my home uninvited before 8 a.m.? He snorted. Then his eyes found me. His gaze slid over my t-shirt, my sweats, my bedhead, and the mug in my hand like I was dirt on the floor. "And who is this?" he asked. "Another stray? You know the zoning rules for non-student tenants, Elena. One wrong step, and the university takes this house off your hands. We could put a very nice dorm right here." "He's a graduate student," she said. "Caleb Vance, physical therapy. His paperwork is already on your desk." "Vance," he repeated. "The pitcher who blew out his arm. I remember the story. Nice to see. We are taking charity cases now." Heat rose up my neck. My fingers curled around the mug so tight my knuckles ached. That injury was the one thing I hated talking about. He had found the sorest spot in under 10 seconds. Before I could open my mouth, Elena stepped to the side. Not much. Just enough so she was between me and him. "Mr. Vance scored in the top 5% on his entrance exams," she said. Her voice went cold. "He earned his place here. Unlike some people, he did not inherit his position." His jaw tightened. "Watch yourself, Rossetti," he said. "One closed door, one small violation. I get a report. And this house is mine. And keep your doors open. You'd be amazed what bored people notice and tell us." Quote. He turned and walked out. The front door slammed again. The house hummed for a second, then went quiet. I could hear only the faint tick of the old clock on the wall and my own pulse in my ears. "Thanks," I said. "Don't think I did that for you," Elena replied. She still watched the tablet, but her hand shook as she raised her coffee. "I can't stand bullies." I watched her profile for a moment. Strong jaw, tired eyes. A woman holding up a house with spine and stubbornness. The open doors suddenly made a little more sense. I took a breath. "You know," I said, "if we're going to live like this, I need to ask one thing." She glanced at me. "Why the no closed doors rule?" I asked. "The real reason." Her gaze went to the sign in the hall, then back to me. For a moment, something raw moved in her eyes, then she shut it down. "You won't last a week, Vance," she said quietly. "When you do, I'll tell you." And just like that, my curiosity tied itself to my pride and to her. I was not sure what scared me more: the storm I could hear building outside in the forecast, or the one I could feel building inside this house, with all its open doors. By the end of the first week, I knew 3 things for sure. 1. The aviary creaked like an old ship every time the wind changed. 2. Dean Sterling was not just a bully, he was a vulture, circling the roofline. 3. The no closed doors rule turned privacy into a memory. Sound carried in that house. Every little thing. The water in the bathroom pipes, the clink of Elena's spoon in her mug, the low murmur of her voice when she made calls about grants and donors, the shuffle of my feet when I paced my room at 2 in the morning, worrying about my shoulder and my future. Sometimes I could hear her humming under her breath when she watered the plants in the parlor. Sometimes she went quiet, and the silence felt heavier than the noise. On day 5, I sat at my desk with anatomy flashcards spread in front of me. My bedroom door was open, because that was the rule. Across the hall, Elena's office door was open too. She sat at her desk with her laptop, glasses low on her nose, hair up, one leg crossed over the other. I watched her rub her lower back when she thought no one was looking. The motion was quick and controlled, like she was trying to hide the pain even from herself. My physical therapy brain noticed it. The part of me that cared about her noticed too. I forced my eyes back to my notes. After a few minutes, her chair scraped. She stood and walked to the landing. "How are the classes?" she asked. "Good," I said. "Nerve pathways, muscle origins, trying not to mix them up." "And your door?" she said. I gestured toward the open frame. Completely obedient. One corner of her mouth lifted. "So you lasted a week?" I set my pen down. "Guess I did." She leaned on the railing, studying me. The house was quiet around us. Outside, the sky was heavy and gray, like it was holding its breath. "You asked why," she said. "For the door rule?" I asked. She nodded. "Everyone who lives here asks. Most of them leave before they earn the answer." I tried to keep my voice light. "So this is a loyalty reward." Her eyes stayed serious. "Something like that." For a second I thought she was going to say it. I felt the words gathering in her. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, looked at the screen, and I watched her face harden. "Sterling," she muttered. She pushed away from the railing. "I need to take this. Stay clear of the front hall." "Why?" I asked. "Because I do not want him seeing you as a weapon he can use," she said. Then she walked away, leaving a lot more questions than answers. The storm hit 2 days later. The weather app had warned us. Strong coastal system, high wind, heavy rain. But apps do not tell you what it feels like when an old house takes that kind of hit. By evening, the wind was screaming around the corners of the building. Rain slammed against the windows like fists. The power flickered once, then steadied. I sat at my desk trying to read about joint mobilization while the glass rattled. My door was open. I could see straight across the hall. Elena's office was empty. Her light was on, but her chair was pushed back. I heard a cracking sound from downstairs. Then a crash. Then a second, sharper one, the kind of sound that makes your body move before your brain catches up. I bolted out of my room and pounding down the stairs. The parlor looked like a scene from a movie. A huge tree branch had slammed through the bay window, shattering the glass. Rain poured in. Cold air knifed through the room. Wind whipped the curtains like wild flags. Elena was already there, barefoot. Jeans, a faded sweatshirt, hair loose and messy. She was fighting with a heavy tarp, trying to drag it over the broken window while the storm grabbed the edges like teeth. "Get back!" she yelled over the wind. "I have it." Another gust hit. The tarp snapped like a sail. It yanked her forward toward the broken glass. Her heel slid on the wet floor. She went down, sliding straight toward the jagged edge of the frame. I did not think. I moved. I grabbed her around the waist and hauled her back just before her hand would have hit the glass. My shoulder screamed, but my grip held. Years of catching wild pitches came back like muscle memory. For a heartbeat, she was pressed against me, breath hot on my throat, fingers digging into my forearm. Her eyes were wide, shock breaking through all the careful control. "Let me help," I said near her ear. "You can't fight a storm alone." She swallowed. I felt it. Then she gave me one small, sharp nod. "Fine," she said. "You hold, I nail." We worked in sync without talking much. I braced my back against the wall, holding the tarp in place with both hands, arms burning. She grabbed a hammer and nails from a nearby toolbox and started pounding the edges into the frame, fast and sure. When the wind tried to yank the tarp free, we leaned into it together. Her shoulder pressed against my chest. Her hair slapped my arm. The storm roared. She did not scream. She did not break. She just kept working until the last corner was secured. By the time we finished, the parlor was cold and dim, but the water had stopped pouring in. Rain pelted the tarp instead of the floor. Shards of glass glittered on the rug like ice. Elena's breath came in sharp bursts. Her sweatshirt was soaked. Her cheeks were flushed. She looked wild and alive and completely exhausted. "You are bleeding," she said. I blinked down at my forearm. Somewhere in the scramble, a shard had caught me. A red line ran from my wrist halfway to my elbow. It stung, but it was not deep. "It's fine," I said. She gave me a look. "Sit." It was the same tone she used when she gave orders about rent and doors, but this time it felt different. Less control, more something else. I sat on the edge of the coffee table. She disappeared into the kitchen and came back with a small first aid kit and a clean towel. She knelt in front of me, close enough that I could see the tiny freckles across her nose. Her fingers were cool and steady as she wiped the blood away. "You should have stayed upstairs," she said quietly. "You should have waited for help," I said. Her eyes flicked up to mine. There was no time. "Then it is a good thing I was here," I said. She pressed a bandage over the cut. For a second, her hand rested on my skin, light but solid. It felt like more than medical contact. It felt like a small bridge she had not meant to build. The house was quiet around us. Outside, the storm kept raging, but in that moment, the parlor felt small and close and strangely safe. "Thank you," she said finally. I nodded. "You're welcome." She stood and looked at the broken window, the tarp, the puddles on the floor. "He will use this," she said. "Sterling?" I asked. "He has been waiting for any excuse," she said. "One damaged window, one complaint about noise, one rumor about who sleeps where. He thinks this house is already his." I felt anger rise up, hot, clean. "Then he has a problem," I said, "because I am not going to make it easy." Her lips twitched. "You talk like a man who plans to stay." "I do," I said. "You told me I would not last a week. This is day 9. She let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh. "The door rule stays," she said. I glanced at the open parlor doorway, the open hallway, the open stairwell above us. Every path, every frame, nothing closed. "Then I have one question," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "If he is already watching, if every door is open, and if he is going to push anyway," I said, "why not let someone stand in the doorway with you?" Her expression changed. Just a little. Something softened, then sharpened again. "Because, Caleb," she said, "the last time I trusted someone behind a closed door, I almost lost this house." The words hit like a second branch through the glass. Before I could answer, a loud thump sounded against the front door. Both of us froze. Elena moved first, walking down the hall with quick steps. I followed close behind. A white paper was taped to the inside of the glass panel. Compliance review. Unannounced inspection possible. The university seal sat at the top like a threat. Elena's jaw tightened. She peeled it off, read it once, then folded it in half with careful fingers. "He is escalating," I said. "He always was," she replied. She slipped the notice into the drawer of the entry table and closed it, leaving that one object hidden in a house where everything else stayed open. I looked at the drawer, then at her. "Elena," I said, my voice low. "At some point, you are going to have to trust someone with more than open doors." She met my eyes. For a long moment, She did not say anything. Then she walked past me toward the kitchen and said in a tight, steady voice, "If you want to keep asking those questions, Mr. Vance, you better be ready for the answers." The wind howled down the chimney. The house shivered, and for the first time since I moved in, I was not sure which storm was going to hit harder. October hit like someone flipped a switch on the world. The trees around campus turned bright red and gold. The air got sharp in the mornings. You could smell wet leaves and coffee everywhere. The aviary creaked more when the wind picked up, like the house had opinions about fall. Inside, life fell into a strange rhythm. I went to class and clinic. I came home and fixed things. Little things at first. The squeaky stair on the right side of the staircase. The loose doorknob on the laundry room. The dripping faucet in the small bathroom that sounded like a slow clock in the middle of the night. I did not ask permission. I just wrote it all down on a notebook and stuck it on the fridge. Date, repair, cost. A simple list. Elena never said thank you, but she stopped watching me every time I opened a drawer. She stopped counting tools when I put them back. One night, I found a new pack of flashcards on the table with my notebook. No note, just a small, quiet gift. The no closed doors rule meant I saw more of her than I expected. I saw the professional side. The blazer, the clipped voice, the way she shifted into a different tone when donors called. I saw the tired side. The sweatshirt, the ponytail, the way she rubbed her lower back at the sink when her day had gone on too long. One night, I came home late from clinic. My back hurt, my head hurt, and my eyes burned from focusing on forms. The house was dim. Only the parlor lamp was on. Elena was asleep on the sofa, half on her side, one arm flung over a stack of folders. Her glasses were still on. Her hair had come loose. The tarp over the broken window made the room feel smaller, like a tent. The heater hummed. The place smelled like lemon oil and worn paper. She shifted and winced. Her hand went to her lower back, pressing there like she could push the pain out. The PT part of my brain spoke up before the rest of me. Her gait has been off all week, that part said. She leans to the right. She sits too long. Her whole lower back is screaming. I walked in and set my bag on the floor. "Elena," I said softly. Her eyes snapped open fast, like she never really slept. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice rough. "Keeping you from wrecking your spine." I said, "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said, trying to sit up. Her face tightened. "That is not what fine looks like," I said. She glared. "I don't need charity, Caleb." "It's not charity," I said. "It's what I am training to do. If you want me to stop at any second, say so, and I stop. No questions." Her eyes searched my face like she was checking for tricks. Then she let out a slow breath. "Clear rules," she said quietly. "Always," I said. She hesitated for one more second. Then she shifted to the middle of the sofa and lay on her stomach, folding her arms under her head. "If you make this weird, I throw you out," she said into the cushion. "If I make this weird, I deserve it," I said. I set my hands on her shoulders first. Her muscles were tight as stone. Years of holding everything alone had built a whole armor there. I pressed gently, waiting for her to tense or flinch. "Okay?" I asked. She nodded. "Go on." I worked slow, steady pressure along the muscles that were clenched to the worst. I kept my touch clean and focused, mind running through anatomy terms to keep myself in check. Traps, rhomboids, erectors. Every time she exhaled, a little more tension left her body. "I do not like being touched," she said after a minute. Her voice was muffled in the pillow. It was not a warning. It was a truth. "I noticed," I said. "You keep a whole house open so no one can sneak up on you." Her hand slid back and wrapped lightly around my wrist, not stopping me, just anchoring herself. "Like this," she said. "Don't change the pressure, quote." That small hand on my wrist felt like more trust than any open door in the building. I moved down to her lower back, careful with angles. She let out a soft sound when I hit the worst spots. Not a moan, not anything like that. Just raw relief, breaking through her control. "Breathe," I reminded her. She did. Deep, slow breaths. Little by little, her muscles let go. When I finished, I stepped back. She rolled onto her side and sat up slowly. Her eyes looked clearer. Some of the harsh lines around her mouth had eased. "You are annoyingly good at that," she said. I shrugged. "You rented a student in physical therapy. Might as well use the perk." "I did not rent you," she said. "You rented a room." A small pause. "But the perk stands," she added. It was the closest thing to a joke I had heard from her about us. The university gala showed up like a deadline we had been trying to ignore. It was all anyone talked about on campus. Big donors, free drinks, fancy space. It was also the night the board would talk about money, and some of that money had the aviary's name written on it. One afternoon I found Elena in the hall, half inside her bedroom. The door was pulled almost shut, but not quite. She had hooked her foot on it to keep it within the rule. She stood with her back to me in an emerald green dress that hugged her shoulders. Her hair was pinned up. She was fighting with the zipper in the mirror. "Need help?" I asked from the landing, looking down at the floor to give her space. "You are supposed to knock," she said. "The door is open," I said. "Your rule." She huffed out a short breath. "Fine, just do it fast, and do not say anything." I stepped close enough to reach the zipper. The smell of her perfume, soft and clean, curled around me. I kept my eyes on my hands, pulled the zipper up in one smooth line, and stepped back like the floor was hot. "There," I said. She stared at me in the mirror. For a second, our eyes met there instead of face to face. Something in my chest pulled tight. "I have to go," she said, breaking the moment. "Sterling will be there." "Then I am coming," I said. She turned. "You can't. It's invite only." Quote. "Then say I am your guest," I said, "or your driver, or your emotional support tenant. I don't care what word you use. You should not face him in a room full of his people alone." She opened her mouth to argue. Then she closed it, frustration traveling over her face like a shadow. "You follow my lead," she said. "Yes, ma'am," I said. The hotel ballroom downtown was too bright and too polished. People in suits and gowns moved around with glasses in their hands, like nothing bad had ever happened to them. Strings played in the corner. Waiters slid by with trays. Elena looked like she belonged in every photo. I felt like a guy who had borrowed his only good suit from the dry cleaner's memory. I stuck close. I fetched drinks. I stood between her and Sterling whenever he drifted our way. I watched the way he stared at her like she was a house, and he already owned the blueprints. At one point, he caught us near the balcony doors. "Ms. Rossetti," he said with that tight smile. "Mr. Vance. Enjoying the view from the top before the wrecking crew comes in?" Quote. "The grant committee has not voted yet," Elena said. "You might be counting your new dorms a little early." He leaned in. "You really think your little pet projects and your broken windows beat a clean plan with new housing and steady checks? You and your rules will go down with that old wood." His gaze slid to me. "Be careful, son. Standing too close to a falling house can get you crushed." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. Elena's hand brushed my sleeve. A small warning. "Not here. Not now." "Excuse me," she said. "We need air." She led the way out to the balcony. Cold night air hit my face. City lights spread out below us. Light rain fell, fine and steady, misting the rails. Elena gripped the stone edge with both hands and stared out for a long moment. "That man is going to rip this place out from under me," she said quietly. "Not if we fight him," I said. "How?" she asked. "He has power. He has people who want what he offers. I have a house with a broken window and a handful of old donors who like the idea of history." "You also have proof," I said. "You keep every receipt, every note. You run this house like a machine." She let out a short laugh with no humor. "Open doors and stacks of paper," she said. "That is my whole personality." I moved to stand next to her, both of us facing the dark yard. "It is more than that," I said. "You took a stranger in when you did not have to. You stood between me and him in your own kitchen. You fought a storm with your bare hands. That house is standing because you refuse to let it be anything else." She turned her head and looked at me. The hard lines on her face were still there, but I could see the fear under them now. The kind she would never show anyone in that room inside. "I let one person close once," she said. "I let him shut a door in that house. He told me I was overreacting, that I was controlling, that I was crazy to care about rules. By the time I opened that door again, he had wrecked more than the room. I almost lost the aviary because I trusted the wrong man with privacy." I was quiet. Her voice shook on the last word. She swallowed it down. "That is the real reason," she said. "No closed doors, no secrets. If everything is in the open, no one can make me feel that stupid again." I did not tell her she was not stupid. I did not tell her he was the one who should be ashamed. She knew that. But knowing something in your head and feeling it in your bones are different. I just said, "I am not him, Elena." "I know," she said. That scared her more than anything. The space between us felt thin. The sound of the party behind the glass doors faded. The rain dusted our shoulders. "If we start something," she whispered, "it has to live in that house with those rules. No secrets, no back rooms, no hiding." "Screw his optics," I said. "I am tired of living like he already owns the story." I reached for her slowly, giving her time to step away. She did not. She grabbed my wrist first, fingers wrapping around it like she was pulling me in on purpose. "Do not stop," she said. That was all the permission I needed. I bent my head. She lifted her chin. Our mouths met in a kiss that felt like a collision and a promise at the same time. Weeks of tension poured into it. Her hand came up to my chest. My free hands settled at her waist, steady, holding, not dragging. A flash of white light burst from the edge of my vision. We broke apart fast. Down below, near the hedge line, I caught a shape in a hood, ducking back and slipping away into the dark, a phone still in their hand. My stomach dropped. Inside my pocket, my own phone buzzed once. My name, her name. A blurry photo on a student group chat screen. By morning, it would spread across the whole campus. By afternoon, it would land on Sterling's desk. By the time the sun actually came up, I had a feeling he would be standing on our porch, rulebook in one hand and my future in the other. The picture hit campus before the sun was fully up. By 8 in the morning, my phone was full of screenshots. A grainy balcony shot. Me leaning in. Elena's hand on my arm. The caption underneath was neat and poisonous. Housing director or special benefits at the aviary. By 9, my advisor pulled me out of lab. By 10, an email from the ethics office landed in my inbox. Subject line in all caps. Conduct review. By noon, I got the call. "Come home," Elena said. Her voice sounded like it had been scraped raw. When I got to the aviary, a campus car was parked in front. 2 officers stood on the sidewalk. Dean Sterling was on the porch, holding a folder like a trophy. Elena stood in the doorway, one shoulder against the frame, arms crossed tight. "This is an official notice," Sterling said as I walked up. "The university is opening a review into your relationship with Ms. Rossetti. Appearance of misconduct. Power imbalance. Very ugly. Very unfortunate." He smiled like he had been waiting his whole life to say it. "You can make this simple," he went on. "Vacate this house today. Move out quietly. If you do, I will recommend leniency. Your scholarship might survive. Your program might keep you. If you stay, I file every complaint I can think of. Ethics. Housing. Professional standards. Your license board will hear your name before your first midterm." My stomach turned. He was not bluffing. He knew exactly where to hit. I looked at Elena. Her face was pale. Her eyes were dark and tired, but steady. "You do not have to do this," she said to me. "You can walk away. I will not ask you to stay and watch your career burn." Anger rose up hard in my chest. "This is not your choice," I said to her. "He is using me to get to you." She swallowed. "I know. That is why you have to go." It hurt. It cut straight through the part of me that had started to think of this place as home. But behind the hurt was something else. Understanding. This was not her pushing me away because she did not care. This was her trying to take the hit alone. "I am not leaving because you threatened me," I said to Sterling. "You are leaving because she asked you to," he snapped back. "Right, Ms. Rossetti." Elena's jaw clenched. "Pack a bag, Caleb," she said. "Stay with a friend. Let me handle this." The officers watched me. The whole porch felt like a stage. I wanted to grab her hand and refuse. I wanted to say we would fight him together. Instead, I nodded once. "Fine," I said. "For now." Quote. I walked past her, past the sign that said "No closed doors," up the stairs to my room. I packed fast. A bag, my textbooks, my notes. When I came back down, she met my eyes for half a second. "I am not choosing him over you," she said quietly. "I know," I said. "That is the only reason I am walking out right now." Marcus's couch was lumpy and smelled like pizza and laundry soap. I stared at the ceiling for one long night and replayed every second on that balcony. The kiss. The flash. The way she had grabbed my wrist and said, "Do not stop." The way she had told me to go to save my future. By morning, my fear had burned down into something sharper. I was tired of playing defense. The town hall about the aviary was held in a medium-sized lecture hall on campus. Fold-out chairs. A projector screen, the university seal on a banner at the front like it could bless whatever happened there. The place was full. Faculty, students, staff, donors in neat rows. A low buzz of gossip and nerves. Sterling stood at the podium with his folder, talking about mismanagement and concerns about conduct and responsible use of university resources. On the screen behind him, he flashed a photo of the house, the storm tarp, a red circle around the broken window. He talked like Elena was already guilty of everything he was hinting at. When he finished, the provost asked if anyone else wanted to speak. My legs moved before my brain finished arguing with them. I walked down the aisle with a worn 3-ring binder under my arm. The maintenance log. Elena's handwriting on the cover. "Mr. Vance," the provost said, frowning, "this is not. This is about the aviary," I said into the mic. The sound of my own voice through the speakers made my heart jump. "I live there. I think you should see what actually happens inside those open doors." I opened the binder on the podium. The first page was a list in Elena's neat hand. Date, problem, repair, cost, contractor, receipt attached. "This is not a scrapbook," I said. "It is a record. Every time the house broke, she fixed it. Roof patch, furnace repair, fire inspection, tree removal, my rent check, every dollar in and out. She writes it all down." I flipped pages. The trustees in the front row leaned forward. "You want to know where the grant money went?" I asked. "Here, here, and here." I pointed to highlighted lines. "You want to know why the window is covered with a tarp? Because a storm broke it and she paid out of pocket to stop the rain pouring in, then called 3 contractors to get quotes. You want to know if she hides things? She does not even hide the cost of new screws." A small ripple of laughter moved through the room, breaking some of the tension. I pointed at the photo of the hallway on the screen. The "No closed doors" sign. "He mocks this," I said. "He calls it her little rule, but it is not a joke. It is how she keeps that house transparent. No secrets, no hidden rooms. Anyone can see what is happening upstairs, downstairs, anywhere. You cannot call that mismanagement." I looked at the provost. "If you think there is something to hide," I said, "you should not take my word or his. Take hers. Take this. Ask for a full audit. Read every line. That is what open doors mean." The provost looked at the binder, at Sterling, at the rows of people watching. The dean's summary did not include this level of detail, one trustee said slowly. Sterling cleared his throat. "We do not need a student to tell us how to run. We do need all the facts." The provost cut in. He nodded to a staff member. "Take this into the record. Freeze any decision about the aviary until the documents are reviewed." Sterling's jaw clenched. For the first time, he looked nervous. When the meeting ended, no one clapped. The board went into a side room with the binder and a stack of copied statements. People trickled out in small groups, talking low. Elena stayed in her seat until the room almost emptied. When she finally stood, our eyes met across the rows. She did not smile, but her gaze held something new. "You saw me," it said. Days later, the results came in pieces. The grant for the aviary was approved. There would be money to fix the window, the roof, the old pipes. The report about mismanagement was closed. The committee found no misuse of funds. Sterling's expansion plan for a new dorm on that block went back to the bottom of the stack. My conduct case did not vanish, but it shrank. The ethics committee reviewed the lease, our roles, the binder, the way the balcony photo had been taken. They did not call it proof of a crime. They called it a lapse in judgment and a training moment. My scholarship stayed. My clinical placement was confirmed in a clean email that did not mention scandal once. I spent another week on Marcus's couch out of habit and fear. Then I got a text. "Come by," the message read. "No visitors, just you." My hand shook as I walked back up the hill to the old house. The aviary looked the same from the outside, tall and stubborn. The tarp still covered the parlor window, but there was a ladder leaning against the porch and new glass waiting in a crate. Elena stood in the doorway in jeans and a simple black t-shirt, no blazer, no armor. Her bare feet were on the wood again, like the first night, but her face looked different, less closed, more tired, more real. "You are an idiot," she said. I let out a breathy laugh. "That seems fair." "You could have lost everything," she said. "Scholarship, license, future." "I already lost baseball once," I said. "I know what it feels like to watch everything you planned catch fire." I was not going to stand back and watch it happen to you if I could carry one bucket of water. She stared at me for a long second. Then she stepped aside. "Come in," she said. I walked into the hall. The lemon oil smell hit me, clean and sharp. The heater hummed. The house felt like it had been holding its breath, too. Elena walked to the entry table. The no closed doors sign still hung on its hook. She reached up and unhooked it. The little rope swung for a second in midair, then stopped. She set the sign down on the table between us. "New rule," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were not. "Doors can close. Hearts cannot go quiet. Privacy is allowed. Lies are not." I swallowed. I can live with that. She took one small step toward me, then another. Her fingers caught the front of my jacket and held on. "You were right," she said. "I used rules to keep people out. I used them on you. I do not want to do that anymore." My chest felt too full. "You told me I would not last a week," I said. "You were wrong." "That terrifies me," she said. Her eyes were bright. "Good," I said softly. "Me too." "Caleb," she said, "kiss me, with the door open or closed, but do it knowing I am choosing this with you." I raised my hand and cupped her jaw gently, giving her time to pull away. She did not. She leaned into my palm like it was the first safe thing she had touched in a long time. I kissed her, slow at first, careful, then deeper, with the kind of relief that feels like finally stepping inside out of the rain. Her hands slid up to my shoulders. My other arm went around her waist, holding her close but not trapping her. When we broke apart, she let out a small laugh that sounded like the start of something new. "Close the door, Caleb," she said. I reached back and pushed the front door shut. The latch clicked. Not like a prison, like a promise. Outside, the campus could whisper and watch and spin stories. Inside the aviary, for the first time, we had one of our own.